Well, we piloted this, specifically the health application. We piloted it in 2 areas. One of the areas was one of the universities in Kampala. That was Chamber University, because we realized that most of our target users are within that age group. So we had to make sure that we pilot within an area that has many of those, and that was the university. Then we also piloted in one of the local villages, somewhere not far from Kampala, but remote enough for us to give us good lessons on how the uptake of this application would be. We did that for about 6 months, and within 6 months we saw, well, the service was free by then. We were able to see about 2.8 million hits, the SMSs, through which people were testing the service. And we also did the pilot through intermediaries. We had people who were going out to help the users, tell them about the service, answer their queries, give us feedback. So it was, a whole setup of, networking between ourselves through the intermediaries up to the end users. We're still in a learning, phase. Okay. When we developed this service, we realized that people needed, once we did the needs assessment and the baseline survey, we realized that most people would love the service in their local language. But as you know, the challenge there is the computers do not understand my local language, neither do they understand this local language. So we must structure the message in the local language in a way that people will be able to understand it, as well as the technology to accommodate the local language. So it was a challenge for us. That's why we started with one local language in Uganda, the Uganda language, because it is widely spoken. Now, things like misspellings, yes, we took care of a number of misspellings. And not just misspellings, we have to think of the common words people use. For example, if I use your example of Edward, you may find that in certain communities it's called something else. You may find that in certain youth groups it's called something else. So we have to pull all those, whatever we think that people use, and input them into the system. So misspellings, common words, different synonyms, different names of certain diseases, and because, for example, AIDS, SIDA, returning inappropriate responses. That is right. It can be maybe out of the keyword, It may be out of a misspelling that we didn't think about, and it's not in the system. Okay, so that could be possible.
Can I give you
so
an example?
The computer, when we call it the computer, because that's the common explanation we give people, that it may look for the nearest word next to what it thinks you intended to, find out, and then return something. That's why you realize that at the end of the message, we put tips, and they're not the leads, that if this message is not what you are looking for, type maybe reply 1 for ABCD or reply 2, so that at least we help you to get near to what you intend to find. Yeah. As you'll note in this partnership, Grameen's main mission is to help people lift themselves out of poverty, and they're doing that through technology and microfinance. Those are the 2 major sectors they support. Now, Grameen is a non-for-profit organization. Now, they are not interested in making money out of this, but they are interested in getting people access information, useful information that can transform their lives. Now, when it comes to MTN, in as much as it would want to support on the same front, build applications, create more value for people with handsets and telecommunication services, they would also want to make a little buck, okay, out of the investment. Now, MTN has the commercial aspect, okay. Now, back to your question, did we consider other networks? Yes and no. Yes, because we want to make money out of the SMS you send, okay? But at the same time, we think that once you get this useful information, you will disseminate that information to your peers. Secondly, for MTN to be looked at as an innovator in the market, it means we're encouraging, in as much as we're making money, but we're also encouraging new connections. So if you find that there's value, there's more worth for you to be connected to MTN, then I'll be forced to get connected to MTN so that I access the same service. There's a lot of politics involved in this. When the partnership came into being, actually the partnership was between MTN and Grameen. But Google approached, because Google was looking, actually up to today, they're still looking for a way of reaching people at the bottom of the pyramid, but with services that we all pull from the internet. Okay? So that's why, like the general search, you may search for international news, everything via SMS, but this information is coming off the web. Okay? Now, Grameen, of course, with the innovations around the village phone, Grameen was one of the easiest targets to work with, one of the easiest partners to work with. So Google came in, and of course, as we all know, Big Brother, with a big bag, they just pull the strings and you dance. So when Google came into place, they put in a lot of investment, and by the mere fact that they are owning the technology of this, which this service is running, they had to make an impact. How best would they make an impact? How best would they make people aware that yes, Google has a footprint here? It was by owning the name.
Branding it.
Yeah, branding. We put a proposal together for a service, rather a call center, and that call center specifically is going to address things like that, where people cannot find enough information via SMS. They should be able to call in and get, ask any sorts of questions. We're also looking at, getting the service out of, through IVR. But we know our weakness, the general weakness with talking to machines. People don't want to listen to machines. They don't want to talk to machines. It's a challenge. It's a culture we just have to build. We must nurture it up to a certain level. And as we see, the development in the technological space, as I say, people must have to jump on this bandwagon of data services. They must jump on the bandwagon. Otherwise, they'll be left out. Because if you look at the phones, 5 years ago, not so many people had phones with cameras. Actually, those were the the rich people. Okay, but now each phone that's coming out of China has, you can access the web, video, you have. So people must, be helped to transform, with the technological advancements, and that's the only way we're going to get them to appreciate. When we were doing research before we started, deeply thinking about this application, we went through all the government bodies that are responsible for the health sector. But that was one of the main areas they emphasized, that we should not attempt to give prescriptive information. Otherwise, people will end up doing self-medication, and many of them will die. Like he's saying, personally, I don't know how many times I visited a doctor for a checkup. And I know it's very important and critical for my life, but I ignore it. Now, if I have a phone which is going to tell me, give me prescriptive information, then it means I'll become a doctor myself. And we didn't want to turn people into medical personnel. Because whatever source of information will pull this content, it must be verified by the Ministry of Health people. The way the system is set up, we think a lot about confidentiality, the user confidentiality. We cannot, for example, if you send out a query, we cannot know. We may see your number. If we see your number, then we can't know what you're querying about. If we see what you're querying about, then we can't know your number. Now, as MTN, we see the numbers, the phone numbers of the users, so we have all these statistics. We know at what particular time how many SMSs have gone through our system, linking to 607, but it cannot separate between health and agriculture, so we just see the shortcode.